everyone. You are listening to She Leads with Carly, and our guest today is Jenna Atkinson. Jenna is the founder and CEO of the P5 Project, where she helps women increase their income, impact, and influence. I really loved my chat with Jenna as she gives incredible advice for those navigating their careers in college and coming right out of college. One of the most important lessons I learned is to really put yourself out there, meet new people, reach out to people who you want to become, and cherish those relationships. This and so much more with Jenna. Her energy and passion for what she does to help women reach their full potential is so evident throughout this episode. I love this one, and I hope you guys do too. Hello, Jenna. Welcome to She Leads. Thank you so much for coming onto my show. How are you today?
I am doing awesome. It is a Monday, and let me tell you, you can tell really easily in the start of the week if you're doing the right thing or not, because Mondays you either love or you hate. I'm dying for it to get to Monday because I have so many things I'm excited about and diving to get into. So thanks for having me
I
here.
love that.
This is such a cool show. I'm so glad you're doing it, and I appreciate you.
Of course. I mean, even that is incredibly aspirational. That's what you dream for, to have Mondays being exciting and you look forward to the week. So I love that. But anyway, Jenna, you are the founder and CEO of the P5 Project, which obviously you'll get into. But what you do is you provide, yes, love the shirt. You provide really these experiences, educational opportunities, resources for, women entrepreneurs, executive leaders, and just emerging leaders who, really want to make an impact and, want to set bigger goals to increase their impact, influence, and income. So we'll obviously dive into all of that. But first, what I love to do is you graduated from University of Wisconsin in, I believe, marketing, management, and human resources. So I want to know, take me back to that time when you were in your early 20s. At this point in college, choosing a degree, did you know what you wanted to do in life? Did you see the P5 project in your future, or how did you really navigate it at this point?
Well, I definitely can't say that I saw this business specifically, but ever since I was little, I was always super interested in business. Even growing up, my dad was a sales manager at UPS for, over 30 years until he retired, was at the same company for over 30 years. And one of the first things I remember when I was little is going to visit my dad at the office, and they'd have all these old school 80s printed transcripts, and I would just get a highlighter, and I had a little, all the girls in my class had little dolls, and I had a little briefcase that I loved, and I put all these papers of spreadsheets that I stole out of my dad's garbage that I had no idea what they meant. I probably couldn't even read at the time, but I'd be like, I gotta highlight this, and I gotta circle this, and I'd put it in my briefcase and walk around, and I was like, yes, this is where it's at. So I was always super nerdy, interested in business. In school, those were the classes that I think came easiest to me, and I was just most interested in. I think for most people, they gravitate towards the things that come easiest for them, which is not a bad thing. I think, work smarter, not harder. The things that you're super good at and come easy to you are things that are not easy and don't come easy for other people. So it's really easy to overlook that. So no, I didn't necessarily see the P5 project, but I was always a big business nerd. And growing up, my dad worked at UPS for a long time, but my mom owned a couple different businesses, small businesses in a really small town. So I just got to see the pros and cons of kind of the corporate work life and the pros and cons of the business owner life, and just the impact you could make on both sides. And like I said, there's definitely pros and cons to both, and not, it depends on what type of person you are, what path you want to take. But business was always interesting, and I love the entrepreneurship stuff. So I always imagined one day owning my own business like my mom did.
Amazing. So from my understanding, you went into wealth management right after college. Is that right?
Yeah. I was telling you the story before that.
Talk about that.
Not a finance person at all, not a numbers person at all. Took calculus a couple times in college, and it was not by choice that I was taking that more than one time. But prerequisites to get into business school there. So I just was not a fan. It was super boring to me. I think there's a number of reasons why that was, and actually, with a P5 project, knowing your numbers and being smart with finances is something that is critically important, and we try to help more women with. But I just, like I said, I think there's a number of reasons that it's not super appealing to women, especially younger, high school, college, early career kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so that was not my strength at all. But then I was getting towards the end of business school and getting ready to graduate. You have your parents chirping in your ear like, we're not giving you another dollar for anything. You better, be ready to pay your own bills. We helped you with college. You got to be on your own now. Be independent, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking at the job boards like everyone does, I think, and going through the list of names, and I saw one called Strategic Wealth Management Group. And I was like, man, and I looked at the listing for it, and it just, like, the way the description was written and the logo was really crisp and gold, and I looked up their website, and it was these big glass doors. I was like, man, this is looking fancy. My parents are going to be impressed if I tell them my first job is at Strategic Wealth Management Group, which I didn't even know like what that meant. I was terrible at finance. I was terrible at numbers, but it was a marketing, like business development position there. So I ended up applying and getting that job. And so my first job was at a wealth management firm, and I stayed in that for a while, even though I was not a numbers finance person at all. And it was just a really interesting learning point of, at least for me, when I was in school and majoring in marketing, the majority of the emphasis on marketing and sales and business development was product based. So what are I don't even remember what it is now, like the 5 P's: product, placement, like that kind of thing, and just marketing a physical product. And kind of by chance, taking this job that I wasn't necessarily aiming for or thinking about, it really opened my eyes to another side of marketing and business development and sales, and that's like the professional services and the relationship aspect of it. And I think that part turned out to be a lot more exciting for me and really more beneficial down the road than knowing the maybe more retail product-based side of marketing that I had experienced while I was learning in school.
Yeah. So, okay, so like when you look back at your experience, taking this job, yes, it looks great. You're going to make your parents proud and whatnot. But, what would you advise other people coming out of college? I guess there's one aspect of like, yes, you want to find that job you love and you're passionate about it. But then at the same time, going into finance, you're going to learn a lot, and, it may not be fun, but at the end of the day, like it's not your long-term, goal, or that's not your long-term career. So how do you navigate those two? Like if you were to go back, would you do the same thing and take that in job in finance?
Yeah, I think I would. And here's why. I think right now, entrepreneurship is really trendy. Like it's kind of funny because before, like, if you thought of Mark Zuckerberg or something like that, you'd be like this nerdy guy or whatever. Now those business mogul startup people are like the cool, or maybe it's just for me because I'm a nerd, but like those are people that you're like, oh man, that's so cool. Like think if I could do that or have a startup or be an entrepreneur. So I feel like there's a lot of hype around entrepreneurship, but the real life, facts of it is it's not easy, and it's not something that for most people you start a business and are making 6 or 7 figures out of the gate. So you can have that idea of, wanting to be an entrepreneur or start your own business one day. One of the best things that I think you can do out of college is have that like big vision idea in mind, but then think about out of college, what's the best stepping stone to get you there? If you find the right corporate, and I didn't know this at the time, it was kind of like luck, but that job that I took, and if I thought about this now and be proactive about it, luckily it worked in my favor the way I went, but a lot of people, I don't think it does. They just like grab the first thing that they can get. Is think about that job as a stepping stone. It will help you build credibility. It will help you build relationships. If it's the right place, they'll pay for your professional development, to go to conferences, to take additional courses, to, get more
Business
expertise
school,
in a
for
certain
instance,
area that they'll pay for you. So I'm not saying like don't give them value too, but you can use a corporate job to make money, build credibility, build relationships, and get more education. Whereas if you immediately are like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to start something on my own, you're going to have a hard time getting money quick. People are not saying you can't do it, but immediately out of college with no, I used to work in this industry or for this company, just saying like I graduated from here, people are going to be a little skeptical about, your expertise level in a certain area. Not that you can't be super great at it, but it helps. So looking back, I would say when you're getting ready to graduate or when you're younger, really put some serious thought into, okay, this is like what I think my long term, whatever long term is, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and then reverse engineer it. What are the steps or what are the types of jobs or the types of industries or the types of relationships that I would need that down the road are really going to serve me well and set me up for success for the bigger goals. So yes, luckily for me, that one worked out well. But I would definitely be more proactive thinking about that for other people. Don't, especially if you have entrepreneurship on the mind, don't feel like the pressure to jump right into that right away. There's a ton of benefits of finding that right leapfrog kind of position or positions to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's awesome. So, okay, so now tell me, after working at what's Strategic Wealth Management, is that what it's called? Or
Strategic Wealth Management Group. Hey, let me give you one more thing while I was in college. If people are in college listening to this.
Definitely.
Another kind of like lucky, I was an idiot, but it turned out good move while I was in college was I was in a marketing class and we had to do some project around PR, public relations. And I was like, man, I don't really know anything about that area of marketing. I don't really know anything about PR. So I kind of Googled it and it was like, media, magazines, that kind of. So I was like, okay, I get it. So in Madison, Wisconsin, I Googled it and there was a big, like main big business magazine. It was called In Business Magazine. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh man, this like is a monthly magazine. It covers all the business stuff going on in the state, in the city, all the bigwig business people are in it. So I wrote an email to the editor of a magazine, because even big national magazines, you guys, like if you look on the inside cover or on the website, it's super easy to find out who the editor is, who the publisher is, who all the, contributing authors are. So I looked it up, found the editor of this magazine, and her name was Jody Glynn Patrick. And I wrote her an email and was like, hey, Jody, my name is Jenna Atkinson. I'm a student at the Wisconsin School of Business. I have this assignment about PR, and I really have no idea what that is other than it has something to do with magazines and getting your business name out there. Would you be willing to meet with me for like 15 minutes and just talk about PR with me? And she wrote me back and was like, yeah, it'll cost you a small McDonald's coffee. Meet me at this date at this time. And I was like, okay. I didn't have a car like at college, so I had to figure out how to get, before like Uber times, had to figure out how to get a taxi or a bus or something over there, get this small coffee that cost $1 or whatever. And just had this amazing meeting with her, and she told me all this cool stuff, and I just came, like, there was nothing specific that I wanted from her other than just, like, her insights, her feedback, her information, just asking questions, that kind of thing. And it started to, like, build this relationship with her, and as the editor of this magazine, it makes sense, but she had the biggest network of powerhouse business people in the city, in the state, because of course everyone wanted their business and In Business Magazine. So she knew everyone. And the fact that I reached out to her, as a college student and was just really wanting to learn and connect with her, and I didn't want a job or I didn't want like an article in her magazine. There's nothing specific that I wanted from her. I started building this relationship, and I can't tell you, Carly, how insanely valuable that meeting was. I had no idea. For the cost of a bus ride and a small McDonald's coffee, like the people that she introduced me to literally changed my entire career, my life, everything. So my advice while you're in college is build relationships with people in positions of power that you think are valuable to you before you need anything. Like, come from a place of genuine, just not only asking questions and asking for feedback, because I think as you get older, people are more like, why the hell would I give my time to this 35-year-old person, like you should have figured this
Right.
out on your own already, but your college email address is like one of the most powerful, underutilized tools that you can have, because people always want to help a student. They always want to help out, like while you're young in your career, still trying to figure out, they want to give back. Further down the line, that's a little tougher to just be asking for people. So reach out, identify those people, whether it's literally the same thing, like the editor of a business magazine or the editor of the business section of your local newspaper or whatever it is.
Yeah.
People, in leadership roles in certain industries, reach out to them, ask, hey, I'm a student. Can I just ask you a couple questions about this? I'm super interested in it. Venture capital, whatever industry that you're interested in. And I don't know if I did this at the time, but this would be like extra stars now looking back, is saying,
Yeah.
hey, thank you so much for your time. What can I do to help you? Like, can I give you a couple hours, making social media posts for you? Or can I, give you some school industry connections? Or like, you might not think as a student you have things that you can give back to them, but you absolutely do. Even if it's like little work tasks that are going to save them time, help with content, help with social media, help different ways. But come from a place of learning before you need to ask for anything, and find ways that you can add value. Don't say, how can I mean, you can ask that, but also think specifically from your conversations and your research. Come with an idea of the specific way you think you could help, because they're going to be like, I don't know you. I don't necessarily know how you can add value. But if you say, hey, I've really been studying a lot about venture capital, and I found these couple pitch competitions that you might want to hear about, or XYZ. It doesn't even have to be a fit, but just being proactive and like offering that will be so insanely valuable. And those core relationships that you build with people are going to pay you back 100-fold later in your career if you start building them before you need anything, or before you need to like make a certain ask. So that's my long-winded advice of, while you're in school, use that college email address and start building those relationships with people of power, and it will be sick later in your career, let me tell you.
No, I love that. I think, and also like you didn't even mention this, but even, before the actual relationship, it's the fact that like reaching out, having that mentality where like just reach out to them, like worst case they don't reply, or like you never know. So that's honestly the mentality I've had with starting this podcast. Like it's been so great because I've just reached out to people, and someone like you said yes, let's of course I'll come on. So I love that piece of advice. I think that's great. So, okay, so now, leaving wealth management, I know you started your own consulting firm. And tell me about that. Like, tell me, I know I read somewhere that you went through a stage in your life where I think it was right after you had kids and you realized, you know what, like I'm not doing something I'm passionate about and I want to find that passion. So walk me through that. How did you know, like, were you tapping into your everyday life saying I'm not excited for the day, or how did you really take that leap to the next step?
Yeah, so after Strategic Wealth Management Group, very fancy, I actually got recruited to work for a couple other top 100 financial firms and do similar kind of work, like business development, marketing, that kind of stuff. So I worked at 3 other big financial firms for that. Not for a long period of time, probably 1 or 2 years each. And I know there's some, I don't know, advice out there to younger people that it doesn't necessarily look good on a resume to be hopping from position to position. But for me, each time was because I got recruited by the next organization. Like, hey, we see the work you're doing here. Can you come here? So every time I went to the, interview for the next one, it definitely didn't look bad to say, yeah, I only worked there for a year, but it was because our competitor, thought I was kicking butt over there and said, come work for us. And then I was there for a year, and a bigger competitor said, come work for us. So,
yeah,
the jump around thing, I don't think that's a big a deal as maybe it used to be. And if you can justify if you're getting fired every year, that probably doesn't look good. But even if you say like, hey, I found this new opportunity that was a better fit, and this is exactly what I'm looking for, don't be afraid to jump around. So I worked for those those organizations. And then at the last one, I had the opportunity to start speaking at a lot of big national industry events and conferences and writing for some big national publications. So when I started doing that on a bigger scale, I started getting a lot of competitors coming up to me and saying, like, can you help us with this? Can you do this for our firm? And ethically, that was probably not a good idea to be helping multiple competitors with the same type of thing. So I was like, no, I can't. But after hearing that enough, I was like, all right, I'll start my own thing. So that's what you're referencing with my first business. Well, I shouldn't say my first business. It was the first time I went full time with a business. So I had a training consulting firm. It's just called Jenna Atkinson Consulting. Very creative for a marketing person, I know. But we did business development, training, and consulting for a variety of professional services firms nationally. High net worth financial firms, accounting firms, law firms. And basically I would help them build their book of business, get more clients. And the business part was going really well. I was doing a lot of traveling. And no offense, you guys, if you're a finance, accounting, legal major, they're all very, very smart, very, very good at what they did, experts in their fields. Not necessarily the most thrilling, personality-wise people to work with, for someone like me at least. Like, that's more relationship marketing, big picture, sales, that kind of thing. Right. They're very numbers, spreadsheets, details, blah, blah, which to me is like a slow death. But you need both to be successful in any business. So the business part was going great. But then, like you said, my husband Matt and I had 2 daughters in 2 years. And I definitely was never the stay-at-home mom type. Don't get me wrong, that's probably the hardest job in the world, especially now that I've seen what that's like. But I just always had really big professional career kind of goals. And, my family still, even with those career goals, my family will always be the number one priority in my life. So and I think that's okay. People think you can only, especially women, think you can only have one or the other sometimes. And that's not true. The whole balance thing, I have my own thoughts on, but definitely both are still possible. You can find ways to prioritize your family, your kids, your relationship, and still have big career business goals and build a big business. And I think entrepreneurship is a great way to do that, because then, hey, you might be working 100 hours a week on your business, but it can be, when your kids are asleep or when they're at daycare or a friend's house or whatever. But that's a whole separate conversation. Right. But the whole idea of why I wanted to switch to this new business once I had kids was because I started thinking, okay, I'm not a stay-at-home mom type, but with keeping in mind my family is still my priority. If I'm spending time away from my kids and away from my husband, away from my family, I want to make sure that for me personally, what I'm doing is for more than just that big paycheck at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong, I still want the big paycheck too. That's not like a trade-off, but the way I'm getting it, I want to make sure is totally aligned with something that I think is, more tied to something that I think is incredibly important. Not just like, do I think building law firms and financial firms is important? Like, yeah, I get that's valuable and you need to do that if that's your business, but it just like was not a deep, meaningful thing for me anymore, where the P5 project and helping other women, make that connection between income and impact and having security for your family and, helping and serving others. It just seemed like something that I was much more passionate about. I could utilize my skills to do. And it was something that one day when my girls are old enough, I can explain to them only the things that we teach other people, but like, hey, do you realize this, this is why it's so important, and it's something that I want to ingrain in them too. So you talked about passion, and I think that's something that is incredibly important, especially for women. But you need to be careful with that, because just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that that's a good career or business for you. And I'll wrap up that answer there. Yeah. If you have a question about that, I can do that. Otherwise, on to the next.
No, okay, obviously, I want to go into that because obviously, I think the inspiration, and I want to hear it in your own words, but the inspiration behind the P5 project was almost this assumption that, it's not a balance of, being a mom versus running your own business, or, you can't do your passion while also making a great income, and it's kind of mutually exclusive. So tell me about that, and tell me why this mindset that maybe women have more than men, or that women have, needs to really shift to understand that, no, we could easily be working and be a mom and, making a great income and whatnot. So tell me a little bit more about the inspiration behind it and what your main, motto is going into it.
So I think a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about the difference between passion and purpose. So P5 stands for 5 things: purpose, passion, profits, progress, and possibilities. And I think passion is a word that gets thrown around a lot, especially, like I said, for women when they're thinking about their career or their business or entrepreneurship. Follow your passion and the money will come, blah, blah, blah. That's not
Yeah.
great advice, because if your passion is basket weaving, weightlifting, shell making combined together, it's like, good for you, but that's probably not going to make you enough money to survive. But so there's two
Yeah.
things, and I wish I could claim this as my own, but I actually heard it from a lady named Patrice Washington, who, if you're not following her, you need to hop on Instagram, check her out. She's amazing, all about money, mindset, and finances. And I was in a mastermind group listening to her speak, and she said this so, like, in a way that I had never heard before, and I thought it was so good. And she said, passion is incredibly important, but passion is something that you do for yourself. So if you love basket weaving, shell making, whatever, and you just love it, like, hell yeah, you keep doing that, and it's going to keep you excited and, like, your fire lit about life and things going on. What you should be looking for when it comes to business, career choices, starting a business, whatever it is your purpose. And that's because purpose is for other people. So passion is something that excites you and is for yourself. You absolutely need to have that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be your business or your career. Purpose is something that you're extremely, drawn to, is important to you, aligns with your strengths and vision and things that you can actually accomplish. And when you do that, it serves and provides value to other people. And the differentiation is passion. You could be really excited and good at something for yourself, but it's not going to bring you money. The business career side of things is, if you have something that you're super excited about and drawn to and have the skills to accomplish, but it's for other people, your purpose is to blank. The more you serve people, the more financial rewards you're going to see from that. If you want to make $1 million, solve 1,000,000 problems. So when you're thinking about your life, your business, you need to have both, the passion and the purpose. Sometimes they're both the same thing, but that necessarily isn't always true. So have your passion, have your purpose. The one that serves other people is the one that will probably bring you money.
My question is really, how are you teaching these women who think that it is, mutually exclusive and they can't,
okay.
Like, give me that aspect of it.
Yeah,
and how,
thanks for bringing me back. You guys, most entrepreneur people, like, a little ADD. You start thinking about one thing and then you got to bring it back. So, okay, thank you. Yes. So one of the things that was really important to me, like, growing up, I said I saw the pros and cons of the corporate life and the entrepreneurial life. And I remember sitting, like, in my cubicle in one of my early jobs and just, I was probably one of the youngest ones there still, and there's other, women and the things around me, and they had kids already. I didn't. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And I would remember them being like, oh, I got to ask off for my daughter's, school conferences, or I need to ask off to be there in time for my son's baseball game. And I just was, like, so pissed before I even had kids. Carly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even like kids. I'm still not a huge fan. I love my own more than anything in the world, but I'm not like a rah kids person. But even at that time, before kids, like, listening to these other moms have to be like asking another person for time off, and that might not even be a yes, but asking for time off to need to do the things that what I'm assuming were the most important to them. Be there with their family, be there for those important memories, whatever. And it just pissed me off so much. I'm like, I need to put myself in a position, whether that's through a career or through a business, that I'm not saying I don't want to work my butt off and work hard, but the number one thing that is important is the flexibility and freedom to be able to say, hey, it's my daughter's birthday, I'm taking the whole day off and we're going to go to the trampoline park. Or like, hey, she really seems like she needs some attention. She's been having a hard week at school, whatever. I'm going to take her to lunch for the day. But having to ask someone else for permission to do that just killed me. So when women think about finances, I think, and I'm from the Midwest, I think there's a lot of negative connotation for women around what financial success means and pursuing financial success. It's like, oh, that's so selfish. I don't care about money. Money's not isn't what's important to me. I care about family. I care about helping other people. With the P5 project, what I want to help women see is it's not either or. Pursue financial success and big financial or career professional goals, or prioritize your family, and that serving others, helping others is important. The more that you can be financially successful yourself, whether that's a career or through entrepreneurship or whatever, that is the tool that you can use to leverage and amplify everything else you want to do. That gives you the freedom to do everything else you want to do. Is it selfish to make so much money that you can take off when you want, that you can, spend time with your family when you want, that you can go on vacation and make memories with your family, that you could give back to all the charities that are super important to you, that you can help other people around, the holidays that can't afford gifts for their own kids, but then you can help provide that for them. And I think, like I said, just for women especially, they have these things they say about money, and really it's a unconscious money belief that is negatively impacting them. Like, I honestly think, in growing up in the Midwest, that's definitely how I grew up in a lot of ways. If you think about your first money quote memory, I remember at Christmas, my uncle pulled up to our family Christmas. Super hardworking guy, very smart. He pulled up in a brand new BMW. And my mom was like, ugh, I can't believe, he would drive that here. He just needs to rub it in our face that he's successful, blah, blah, blah. So not that you're necessarily hearing money's bad, blah, 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 but just the way that people talk about it around you, it kind of gets buried in your mind. Like, oh, he has a nice car. He's making a lot of money. Like, he must be a jerk. Keep in mind, this is like the nicest, most helpful guy, would give the shirt off his back, does like super big in his church, in his community, giving back. And the thing that allows him to do that and do all be the coach of his kids' basketball game, soccer league, whatever, is because he focused on getting his money and success right first, so he could have all these options. It's like on an airplane, they tell you put on your air mask first before you help anyone else, for a reason. You can have the best intentions in the world. You can want to save every single person out there. But if you're already dead yourself and can't help yourself, you're not going to be able to save or help or support anyone else. So on an airplane, would you say, like, man, that's so selfish, you need air first? Like, no, that's crazy. But people think that way with money. So with the P5 project, talking about balancing of, pursuing financial success and your own professional success and big goals, and balancing, family priorities or serving others or making a positive impact, it's because they go hand in hand, and just helping more women make that connection for themselves and saying, like, maybe going after these big financial goals isn't a selfish thing to do. It's actually the least selfish thing to do, because you're the one working extra hard. You're the one making sacrifices. You're the one probably taking some S word from people. I don't know if you can swear on here, but you're the one taking crap from people. You're the one getting the haters, also that you can provide and help other people more. So, man, that just really gets me heated when I hear people, especially like, oh man, all these billionaires in the world, or tax the rich more. It's like, you guys just don't understand economics then, I guess, So that's the P5 project, about bridging both, and how increasing your income allows you to increase your impact and influence on the things that are really important to you.
I love it. I think it's so important. And okay, so obviously I could talk to you for another hour, but I want to wrap it up. But before I get to the fun questions, tell me, first of all, I talked to Terry Carlson in my first season, and she said there's never an earlier time. Like, it's never too early to start. You can start, right after college, in college, whatnot. So I want to know, what are some tips for, maybe you do have that mindset. So it's either switching that mindset, or not even having that mindset, but knowing, okay, I do want to be financially literate, and I want to take this into consideration in my career. Do you have tips that, young professionals can use to really advance their career and with that mindset in mind.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so many things. First of all, like I mentioned in college, hated finance, hated numbers, thought I was so bad at math, and I think a lot of that is just, I mean, I could go into a whole tangent of that too about what society teaches and says
Yeah.
to women from when they're little versus what they say to
Yep.
men growing up when they're little. So some of it's just a
Yeah.
mindset of like, girls are bad at math, boys are good at math. Guys, take risks, go make money, get rich. Where ladies, do you really need that extra latte? You need to save, you need to be secure, you need to, be more conservative with your money. So it's this mindset, and I think so I wasn't super big on that in college or high school, the numbers finances part. And if you guys are in college, the textbooks in college ain't cheap. I can't tell you if I ever opened one. Probably spent thousands of dollars on college textbooks. Probably never read them. Like I'd look at the lecture notes and then that's it.
Yeah.
But now I cannot read books fast enough. And I just thought at the time like I wasn't super into it. You're reading the wrong stuff if you're not into it. My number one tip, okay, first of all, this is the one that I read this all the time. You need to get like an Audible or a Kindle subscription,
Amazing.
whatever. Listen to it in the car, listen to it on podcasts. You need to start reading about money. Start reading about thinking bigger. So here's some of my top favorites. You're a Badass at Making Money, Jen Sincero, a must read if you have not already. I'm a huge fan. People love this guy or hate this guy, but I'm a huge fan of Grant Cardone. The 10X rule, which is basically whatever you think you want to do, you need to be thinking 10 times bigger, and it will be 10 times more work, but it'll be worth it. But my number one tip is start reading things that will help get you further faster. So books about money mindset, books about finances, books about business, entrepreneurship, whatever it is that you're interested in, start reading to those people, reading those books by those people. And here's the second one that kind of goes back to what you said, Carly, about reaching out to people about your podcast or, building that network while you're still in college. Even people that have really big names or big audiences or have done really big things, especially if they have a book. I found this. I had a podcast for a while, and now we host these big events. A lot of the people are New York Times bestselling authors or big speakers. People that have books, regardless of how big they are, always want to get their book into the hands of more people. Like growing an audience, whether it's by 100 people or by 100,000 people, is always valuable to them based on what the trade-off is. So find those people that are kind of like your mentors from afar. One of the things that I think really held me back from pursuing some bigger things sooner was I looked for mentors, and I thought that meant I had to like connect in person with them, and I had to be someone around me, and I had to meet with them. I don't know what I thought that meant, but a mentor can be someone that you might not even know, but you consume like their podcast, their books, their trainings, their courses, whatever, and that can be a mentor for you. And then eventually reach out, start a podcast, start writing for a publication, start your own blog on a website. If you can create content, then send these people that you're reading their books or whatever it is, send them an email and just say like, hey, huge fan of your book. I have this podcast. I write these articles. I have this blog, whatever it is. And you'd be shocked at some of the big names that would be willing to give their time, especially now that everything is virtual, for 15 minutes, a half an hour. If it means like, I'll write this article for you. I'll write this blog for you. I'll do this podcast interview for you. And I'll give you a bunch of clips that you can share out on your social media. But it's all about finding that extra value. And right now, like how fast people have to create content to stay relevant and stay up there. I don't know anyone that would turn down the opportunity to, have more content that would help them grow their audience and serve more people. So the top 2 tips, read more, especially read You're a Badass at Making Money, 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Get a nerdy library card or a Kindle card or whatever it is and start hitting those up, at least a book a month, more if you can. And then number 2 is aim higher and start reaching out to those people. Even if you don't hear back, like, who cares? If you don't reach out, You're not going to hear back either. So you're not any further behind, start reaching out to those big names, find ways to add value and build your network. with people that can pull you up faster than where you are now. Don't feel like you have to stay with what's around you. With everything right now, especially being so virtual and that being so widely accepted, that's such a silver lining, perfect time to take advantage of building those relationships, because people aren't expecting you to fly out to where they're at, or they need to come to you. It's like, hey, let's jump on Zoom, or let's jump on the phone, and people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So build those relationships.
Amazing. I love it. It's so good. Okay, so last two questions is, I know you have kids, I know you have the P5 project, but if you were had to choose, another passion that you have just completely unrelated to work, what would that be? What's another passion of yours or hobby? I know passion's not a good word, so hobby.
No, I don't want it to
It's a good word.
Passion is good. Passion is good. I just mean every passion you have doesn't mean it's something that you need to monetize. You for sure should have things you're passionate about. And for me, I'm lucky because, at least at this point, things I'm passionate about are those two things. And it's kind of nerdy, but what I'm passionate about is getting to meet more people doing big things and making a big impact. I mentioned it before this. If you guys aren't on Clubhouse, you got to get on Clubhouse. That place is popping right now. I'm a little obsessed with it. Since it's invite only right now, it's growing and we'll see how it goes from here, but it's still a relatively small amount of people. So there's insanely big names on there that you can connect with that I don't know how else you would ever get in the room with them. So yeah, my passion is nerdy, but it is honestly just building more relationships, getting to meet other people in business. I feel like I want to be a shark in training. If you guys watch Shark Tank, I love it. Hearing all different ideas. Part of what we do with the P5 project is pitch competitions for female founders. So I just love that. Even if it's not my industry, I love hearing what other people have in the works and helping, make connections or be a resource however I can. So my passion is nerdy, but it is, at least for now, business related. Maybe later down the line, I can circle back around to golf or a margarita on the beach or something. We'll see.
I love it. Okay, Jenna, the last question is, so what is a weird, fun, hidden talent of yours that no one really knows about? So I'm going to go first. So what I do is I throw blueberries in my mouth, all right? Okay, so let's see how this goes. Okay.
Don't mess it up. Pressure.
Okay.
Ah!
Got it.
Yes, man. I need to have something cool like that I can do on Zoom. I don't know. And I know you asked me this when we talked before this too, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of a nerd. Like, I don't have a super exciting thing. I gotta try to catch a blueberry or something in my mouth.
Takes years of practice. Good luck.
Yeah, I'll spend my time figuring that out for sure. Man, I don't even have anything cool. This is also a nerdy thing, but this was many years ago now, but I was in the jazz band. I played the bari sax, which is like the biggest one. So at the time, it was basically the full size of my body. So I don't do that anymore. Maybe I should bring that back. Wow. My husband will be like, what the hell are you doing? But I played the bari sax. I was in a jazz band.
Nice.
That was wild times. Now my music related talents include embarrassing my husband, trying to do TikTok dances, even though I cannot, and rapping Nicki Minaj or Megan Thee Stallion lyrics.
Oh my
keeping
God,
it popping
I love
for
it.
my kids. Let them know I'm a cool mom. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom,
Oh my goodness. Well, Jenna, I have to say this has been so fun and so many valuable pieces of advice. So really, thank you for coming on the show. I'm so excited for others to hear it and just learn from you. So thank you.
My pleasure. You're killing it, Carly. Glad to be a resource for you or anyone who listens. However I can. You can hit me up. Go visit the P5project.com or on Instagram. Jenna Atkinson P5 or the P5 Project. I'm glad to, like I said, be a resource, make connections for you however I can. Always especially glad to help college students, So
amazing.
You guys are killing
good.
it. Take that initiative. Send me a note. I'll hook you up.
Perfect. Thank you.